Hi everyone, this video is going to be a tutorial for assignment number 3. So as we see, there's an image of a quilt, and the quilt is basically a duplication of units, okay? And this particular quilt unit is square, and the colors are cool, as you remember. Warm colors tend to be reds, oranges, and yellows, and cool colors tend to be blues and greens and purples. So this is a cool colored quilt, and looks like it's a very simple pattern, or it's a very simple unit that's then duplicated into a pattern, and the pattern is fairly simple itself. So anyway, so that's what we're going to be working on, the creation of a single unit. Okay, it's going to be square. So why don't we get into that? Okay. All right. So when we look at Photoshop today's assignment, or the assignment 3, we're going to focus on the file menu, as well as the first few tools that we haven't really, we talked about one of them, but the others we haven't really talked about. So we're going to employ them today. Okay, so they are the marquee selection tool, the polygonal selection tool, and one we're familiar with is the magic wand selection tool. Okay, so what we're going to be selecting is pixels, and in the case of the assignment today, we're going to be filling that selected area. So why don't we get started? Okay, so first off, I want to create a new document, and according to the Blackboard assignment that's in our shell, assignment 3, we go into the file menu, go to new menu, and the size is, okay, let me do that again. The size is 5 by 5. It's 5 inches wide, 5 inches high, and it's the 72 dpi, or pixels per inch. I always, because I come from a print background, I always say dpi, but it's actually ppi. It's very similar. So it's 72 pixels per inch. Okay, so I hit create. Okay, and it's fairly small, but because my resolution of my monitor is greater, it's pretty great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in to that field. All right, and so like I said, I'm going to start with the rectangular marquee tool. Now I've done some sketches, I did some thinking beforehand, and this has to be a symmetrical pattern unit or quilt unit. And what I'm going to do is put a couple squares in every corner. Okay, so I select the rectangular marquee tool, and rather than like really pay attention and be careful to make sure it's square, and I could also look at the little pop-up, and if the width and the height are the same, well then it's obviously a square. But if I just hold down the shift key, it jumps to being square. Okay, because when you hold on the shift key, it always constrains it to a well, it's a constraining function. Okay, all right. So first I'll make the square there, and then I have to fill it. So I'll go down to the fill. Now we know this because we did it before, and I'll choose a color, and maybe I'll choose a red color, and I'll hit OK. All right. Now I want to do the same thing on this side. So rather than deselect it, and then we talked about this in the class a little bit, I could deselect it and then reselect it and create another selection. Or while I'm on the marquee tool, what I can do is just click on it and drag it over. So it's going to select the selection, okay? And then drag it over. I hold on the shift key, that's going to constrain it, which is kind of a good thing, which is what we want to, because it'll constrain it on the horizontal. So holding on the shift key constrains it to be a square, or in the case of the elliptical marquee tool, a circle, or it can constrain the movement on a horizontal or a vertical path. All right, so now I'll go and fill it again with the same color, and I'll do the same thing down here. Fill it with the same color. Do the same thing here. Fill it with the same color. Okay, And now I want to go to the elliptical marquee tool. Now here's the thing too. Like I said, you can hold down the shift key, and I see the marching ants here, so I'm going to just deselect that. So go, go up to the selection tool and go to deselect. Sorry, I had a little frog in my throat. And so now everything's deselected. So now what I want to do is put a circle in the middle, okay? Now, if I sort of eyeball it, I can put a circle what appears to be in the middle, okay? I could do that for sure. Or I could position the cursor at the center, okay? And if I hold down the Option key, while I hold down the Shift key, the Shift is going to constrain it, but holding on the Option key will allow me to create it from the center out, which could be helpful for sure. So I'm going to do that. I'll hold on the Option key and the Shift key, and I'll fill it this time with a different color. Hit OK. I'm going to move that selection. Maybe I'll move it. Well, actually, I think I'm going to make a smaller selection. So let me make a smaller selection. Let me move that selection over a little bit. Okay. Actually, I'm going to move it down a little bit. And then I'll fill it with the same color. Move it over. Fill it with the same color. Move it down. Fill it with the same color. Okay, all right, so this is part one of the video. I'm constrained to only 10-minute long videos or fairly short videos to make it uploadable to YouTube. So I'll come back for part two. Okay, so hold on just a second. This is part one.